I don't know why I'm telling this story. I guess a part of me still needs to believe it actually happened. It was my first semester in college. My parents had driven me up, left with the usual tearful goodbyes and promises to call, and I was finally on my own. I was assigned to dorm room 112 in Crawford Hall, a building so old that its walls seemed to whisper as you walked past them. That first night, I noticed something odd. My roommate hadn't shown up yet, so I was alone and packing boxes and arranging my space. Around midnight, just as I was about to go to bed, I heard the faintest sound, like a whisper coming from under the bed. At first, I thought it was my imagination. The building was old, after all. Pipes creaked, wood groaned, but this was different. It was as if someone was actually whispering words I couldn't quite make out. For the next few nights, I tried to ignore it, chalking it up to nerves or the unfamiliarity of living away from home. But then things started getting worse. Sometimes, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and find my stuff moved around. My textbooks, which I'd left on my desk, would be scattered across the floor. Clothes would be draped across the chair in odd ways, like someone had been rummaging through them. One night, I decided to stay up late and catch whoever, or whatever, was messing with me. I kept my eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. I must have dozed off because when I woke up, I heard it again, the whispering. But this time, it was louder, clearer. It was coming from the closet. My heart pounded as I forced myself to sit up. I wanted to run, but curiosity held me there, paralyzed. I reached for my phone, flicking on the flashlight, and pointed it toward the closet. The door creaked open just a sliver, and as my light hit the gap, I saw nothing, absolutely nothing. But then, something whispered in my ear. This time, I heard it loud and clear.
Get out.
I screamed and bolted out of the room, running down the hall to the Riz room. She must have seen the terror on my face because she didn't even ask questions. She took me to the common area and made me some tea, telling me that Crawford Hall was known for strange occurrences. Turns out, I wasn't the first to experience the dorm room 112 phenomenon. Years ago, a student named Emily had lived there. She was introverted, kept to herself, but she had a dark past. One day, Emily just vanished. Her stuff was still there, her textbooks, clothes, even her phone. But Emily was gone without a trace, leaving only her empty bed and a lingering scent of lavender. After that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice. She'd whisper things in my ear, her voice broken, desperate. "Help me," she'd say, "they took me. Don't let them take you." I started digging into Emily's story, looking through old newspapers and talking to staff members who'd been around for years. Rumor had it that Emily was involved in some strange cult-like activities, though no one had proof. Some believed she'd tried to contact something unnatural. One evening, while everyone else was out, I went back to my room and started looking around. I needed answers, and if Emily had left any clues, they would be here. I searched every drawer, every corner, and finally checked under the bed. My hand brushed against something cold and metallic, a small locket. Opening it, I found a tiny photo of a young woman. She looked terrified. Beneath the photo, etched in tiny letters, was the phrase, "Only the innocent survive." After that, things got worse. I began seeing shadows in my room, dark figures hovering near my bed when I tried to sleep. One night, as I lay in bed, I felt a cold hand touch my shoulder. I shot up, screaming, and there, in the darkness, I saw her, Emily. Her face was pale, her eyes sunken and empty. She looked at me with such sadness. "I tried to warn you," she whispered. "But you wouldn't listen." I tried to speak, but I was frozen. My throat felt dry, my mind unable to process what I was seeing. Emily took a step closer, reaching out to me with her frail, ghostly hand. Her voice was barely a whisper now. "They'll come for you too." Then, she vanished. I spent the rest of the night huddled in the corner of the common room, refusing to go back into dorm room 112. The next morning, I requested a transfer, and thankfully, they moved me across campus. But even now, I still feel her presence. Sometimes, late at night, I hear faint whispers coming from my closet. And I know she's there, watching, waiting. And whenever someone asks me about my freshman year, I tell them one thing: if you ever find yourself in dorm room 112, don't stay after dark.